Yeah, there's a shortage right now of asthma medication
Oh,
in
really?
Europe. Yeah.
Wow. There's what the fuck, man? The world seems to be just doesn't have a shit together right now.
I know, man. Just like 9 of the teams in Formula One. It's pissing me off.
I mean, you could argue that 10 of the team. I mean, yes, Red Bull has their shit together, but I don't know, man. We're gonna get into it. We're back on the grandstand. It's P Money in Paris, F Knowles, fuck the FIA in New York. Man, what a Saudi. We're back in Saudi. The politics of the race aside, it does seem to be like an exciting track.
Yeah, no oil field were hit this year.
Right.
There was very minimal crashing. I felt this weekend. No red flag. I was pretty sure we're gonna get a red flag like we did in the first couple of races, but yeah, pretty smooth, and it's just one of those tracks that really shows you how fast Formula One cars can go. There were some of the camera angles were just like spot on, I thought. So yeah, super exciting track.
It is, and yeah, I just think they did a great job with it. I also will say, it feels almost like a little bit of a preview of what Las Vegas could bring, just because of those long straights.
In terms of speed in the city, and also like the drones in the sky with the eagle.
Yeah.
That
shit
Vegas,
was wild.
I mean, if Vegas sees that, they're going to want to outdo it, right? So Vegas is going to be wild. It's going to be wild.
Vegas will 100% try to outdo any. They're like taking notes on what every circuit is doing before every race, and they're like, we're gonna outdo all of you motherfuckers.
They have to.
Yeah, it's Vegas, baby. People who live in Vegas also hate the fact that people like us say shit like that.
I'm sure they do, man.
Yeah,
but it's not gonna stop us.
Nah. Let's roll the intro. Let's get into it.
A question for all of you except Romain Grosjean.
To whom it may concern, fuck you.
More ladies in the paddock? Yeah, more paddock access to some women. There's too many dudes.
I don't really have a lot to comment on that, except that he was being a pussy.
Yeah. Coming to I was down in Virginia this weekend, shooting guns and making barbecue. So I'm just
the usual.
Yeah. Shit you do in rural Virginia.
What guns were you shooting?
Straight Ricky Bobby shit. I was shooting. We shot a lot of different kinds of guns. There were pistols, there were 22s, there were 38s, there were 45s.
Oh man.
Yeah, man. The 45 pistol was intense. They're like 45 caliber.
I'm not going to pretend like I know what you're talking about. I feel like there are different sizes of guns or something.
Right.
In Europe, we don't really do that as a hobby.
Right. Well, yeah, we know that.
But it sounds fun though.
It is, man. I mean, well, it's caliber. It's basically the lower the caliber, the less heavy the shot's going to be, or the more less intense the shot's going to be. But the 45 pistol was like, that was the biggest gun I shot. And it was intense, dude. Like your hand rattles for sure.
Damn.
But enough about guns. Though there are lots of guns in Saudi Arabia, provided by Americans. We had a race. Shameless plug. Shout out. We're military industrial complex.
We did have an F1 race this weekend as well.
We did. Yeah. And I thought, honest to God, I thought when Max had his issue in Q2, I was like, some God out there has a soul, and just please, you've given us the biggest gift you could give us, which is Max is having trouble with his car, which I really did think. I thought this maybe is too optimistic. I was like, all right, maybe it means he's not going to finish the race.
Oh, I think every non-Max fan at that point was jumping up and yelling at the screen and thinking, "Oh my God, we have a race on our hands this weekend."
And even Red Bull fans who are, who maybe are just fans of the team, maybe lean more Checo than Max, I'm sure they thought the same.
Yeah. You mean the Mexican Red Bull fans?
Yeah. I think there's a strong. Well, I don't know. I liken Max Verstappen fans to Chelsea support, like American Chelsea supporters.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, Chelsea supporters in general, I feel, are the worst.
Yeah. It's hard to. That's hard, man. But I just, regardless, what really blew me away is that once again, throughout this entire race, the race was decided, was impacted by the stewards on multiple occasions. I'm going to name two. I think you might have more to name, but the first was obviously the decision to give award a 5-second penalty to Fernando for not lining up properly on the grid. They then they Ocon him, right? They Ocon him.
Oh yeah, and I think, we could say that now. Yeah,
I think. Well, it's almost the same thing.
It's the same exact thing. Same penalty.
Same penalty. They gave him another penalty. Was it 10 seconds?
It was a 10-second penalty, yes.
10-second penalty after the race for not lining up, or for not serving the penalty properly, because his jackman had it sounds like a real dirty phrase, his jackman.
It really does, yeah.
But that's what it's called. His jack guy.
No, call it what it is. His jackman. Yeah,
I'm a jackman. Yeah, Hugh Jackman. It's not Jackman, but it's Jackman. It's Jackman.
If Siri is reading it out, but anyway, yeah, I think so. Right. Are you contesting that penalty? Because both of those, first of all, for me, are slam dunk penalties. The first one, Alonso got, I think is, I mean, you just saw it last race with Ocon getting it, so they're obviously getting, stricter with that rule, and they were applying these rules, two in the 90s and early 2000s, and for some reason they stopped being so strict on them. But that's twice in 2 races first 2 races of the year. It's the second one that I think is a bit more difficult. And also Ocon had the same thing, by the way, in Bahrain, where they touched the car 4/10 before they were allowed to. And in Alonso's case, what happened was that the jack was in contact with the car the whole time, and the FIA decided to give a penalty because they consider that working on the car. But what Aston did is they sent out their lawyers saying, you know what? Every single penalty in the last 15 years, there's always been the jack has always been in contact with the car. So basically, with precedence, they ended up reversing it. So I think it was a bit annoying for the fans, to see Alonso there, then see Russell get the podium, and then back to Alonso. But in the end, the fair decision was made, I think.
I think that I guess where my beef is with it, and it's kind of annoying that I continue to have to use this quote, but in the words of Ron Dennis, where's the consistency?
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
That it's in, I guess it's to your point, this is a problem that F1 has had throughout. There's such a lack of consistency in terms of how the rules are interpreted and Alpine was right to come out and say, we need to really consider this. They said this after the race on Sunday, but we need to really look at the rules and understand, why is Esteban getting the penalty that he got, and Fernando, Aston Martin goes to appeal it and they win their appeal. And now he's back on the podium. We get the whole charade with George having the trophy in his hand to then have it taken away. And I think George honestly was like, you saw in post-race interviews, he's basically like, we don't really deserve this, to be honest.
But he would have taken it, man. You take that.
I'm sure he would have taken it, but still the point being like the stewards got it wrong there because I don't know. It's just silly. So that's one. And then the second thing was during the race, the yellow flag the entire circuit because Lance Stroll had a failure. His team told him to Lance stop the car, like panicking stop the car. Like they were like, Lance, stop the goddamn car, Lance. Like he was a teenager who had just got his permit and was driving erratically.
Stop it.
Yeah. His dad's like, Lance, stop the car.
well, okay. So what's your beef with that one?
Well, because my beef with it is that, like, I prefer safety car over virtual safety car, like usually 9 times out of 10. But in this case, the car was barely on the circuit. And I guess the issue here is maybe it's not so much with the safety car, but it's the reasons why they chose to take the to have a safety car versus a VSC. Yeah. It's because their GPS told them that the car was still on the circuit.
Yeah,
why don't you just look at the camera or like radio to someone and be like, where is the car positioned?
I think that one is a mistake, and for once the FIA actually owned up to it. They owned up to it. They said, well, our data, our GPS data said that the car was on there, and once you initiate a procedure, you can't cancel it, right? Because you've said for a safety car, everyone is slowing down, people are going to the pits and everything. You cannot, cancel the safety car. So for me, I don't have so much beef with that. I think I was actually pretty happy because we were going to get a restart because the race wasn't that exciting. But I wasn't happy in a way because fucking Max was thrown right into the mix back for victory. Lucky son of a bitch.
But, yeah, I mean that's part of the reason why too. No, of course, but and I guess it's more like it's more like I like to go off about the FIA and the stewards and all that. So I'll take any opportunity I can.
Oh yeah, you should. But yeah. I think on this one, it's not as bad as we've seen in the past.
It's like call someone, be like, where's the car on the fucking track? Not like rely on data points to like look at the cameras, see where it is. I don't understand like why you're relying on a GPS tracker in that case when you can't just like visually see where it's positioned, right? Wouldn't that make sense? Yeah, like, don't the stewards have every,
and that's how engineers know if they have damage. F1's all about this. It's all about sensors, all about data. So if you see a car on there, it's a dangerous spot. You just fucking throw the safety car. But they owned up to it. So I would say, actually, congratulations, FIA. You finally owned up to a mistake you've made. Now let's learn from this.
Whatever.
And let's move on.
I guess we sort of agree to disagree, but like sort of. I don't know. I can't tell on this one.
I don't have any problem with the FIA. It's just that it was unfortunate, I think, for this one.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It was mainly incident. I guess it was really just I was genuinely just subjectively pissed off about it then like basically handing what was I actually shocked to see that Max didn't end up winning the race, but really helping him stack up and just get a better advantage. It just gave him an advantage to make up places again.
Yeah. So the safety car also helped out Alonso because he served his penalty under the safety car, which you are allowed to this year. You weren't allowed to in previous years, and it actually kind of canceled his penalty or made it less of a penalty. But yeah, definitely brought Max right back into the mix. But as we saw, things didn't really pan out for him in the end, thankfully.
No, it didn't. But what was interesting is so Fernando was on the hard tire in the end, and he really liked it. But a lot of teams seem to struggle on that hard tire. Mercedes in particular. Lewis in particular.
Well, Lewis this weekend was all over the place. I think, he announced that. First of all, I don't understand how he announced like in the beginning of the weekend that him and his, Physio, Angela were going different directions. I mean, I understand that, everyone can go their own way and everything, but why like that? Why in the middle of the weekend? Why not on the off season? A little strange. And then
It was odd.
yeah,
I meant to bring that up.
his helping
was
hand is no longer there.
Yeah. How does that hand help? What's that? I wonder.
There's a lot of massaging you need during an F1 race. I don't know, but yeah, Lewis is off. I'll put it this way, man. Lewis was not there this weekend. He looked, man, I'm a stats guy. I followed the stats. He was slow. He was just plain old slow. He was 4/10 off Russell, pretty much on average. He called it was, a setup direction he went that didn't pay off, but man, 7-time world champ against, the upcoming, fast Russell, but yeah, it's not looking good.
Crop.
Yeah,
No,
Russell
man,
2-0 in qualifying, and also, he's doing good race pace. I don't know, man. It's looking like Lewis is not really motivated this year again.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess it's a situation where, being hard isn't always good. You know what I mean?
Might be one of the few situations that,
Yeah, I need to stop making weird sexual innuendos on the show. But,
for those of you who didn't get that, we're talking about the tires. Yeah.
Yeah, tires, not anything else. A lot of teams, some teams struggled, some teams didn't on the hard tire. But I think it brings us to another point where I've gotten my notes, Mercedes, it's James, the classic. If James Vowles comes on the radio, it's not going to be good news. I guess I'm a little confused by Mercedes right now because, in particular, Lewis, and I'm a Lewis fan. We all know this, but
nothing wrong with that.
Thank you. Fucking course there isn't. I think it doesn't need to go. It's an unstated rule. But anyway,
I just had to throw that in there. I'm sorry.
Got it. Okay. All right. Can I finish my point?
Go ahead.
I'm confused by Merc. Merc is they're in a mode where it's like I don't know how to read them, because on the one hand, right, they're not too far off they're far off the Aston Martin, I guess you could say, but they put in a P4 and a P5 result this weekend. We're going to get to Ferrari shortly. That's a whole other shit show. But I guess it's more Lewis, like his public commenting on just how uncomfortable he is with the car, how annoyed he is with it. He said he's never driven a car. He's never driven a car this bad with Mercedes in his time with the team. It doesn't seem, to your point, like Lewis he's just not there. And then even Toto came out and said, if Lewis wants to make a change to another team to get his 8th world title, he wouldn't be upset about that, which is, I think we save that conversation for another episode, but
yeah, that's big, because that looks like maybe opening the door. Lewis, you can leave if you want to, but yeah, we'll save it maybe for next week. We got a week off.
Lawrence Stroll fires his own son.
Let's
get your tinfoil hats on.
2007 McLaren. Let's do it.
Oh boy. Oh, God.
But yeah, no, Mercedes just looks off. They're just off. And last year they at least had the excuse of porpoising. This year there is no excuse in my book. And I think what Toto was also hinting at is that they're working on a different concept, and that's and they're advancing on that in a good way. But I don't know, man. In my book, where I stand on this. Mercedes is not even relevant this year. Sure, they'll pick up the odd podium, but I'm only gonna judge them on what they do in 2024. Like, I don't even want to talk about their performance anymore.
I
will.
I'm
almost
there. I mean, I'm almost there. But it's tough. But I think if I were them at this point, I would actually start developing the car now. You make the changes this year. You put the money towards the changes this year, because if you are basing next year's design off this year's car, you're gonna end up with garbage.
Yeah, that's what
Again.
they're doing. And I think, if you want to take it even further, you can you could tank this year, kind of like NBA style, to get that first round pick. And you would, because the lower you finish in the constructors, the more wind tunnel time you have. So that's just a thought. Are they going to do it? Probably not. I don't think it's in their DNA to tank in F1, and that no one wants that. But yeah, it's going to be a tough year for all Merc fans. I'm sorry to say, but just like it is for us Ferrari fans, because we had hope coming in, and boy, are we disappointed after 2 races. Even before the weekend with that 10,
I know, bro.
Oh my God. Leclerc already has 3 electrical component units on his engine, where most drivers only have 1. So he's got a penalty for that. And in qualifying, the car doesn't look too bad, but in the race, I mean, and Carlos Sainz isn't doing too well. He's not really enjoying it. It's not too comfortable. It's man, I don't know. I don't want to seem like, oh, okay, Red Bull, it's over. Red Bull's got this, but fuck, Red Bull's got this. They've got 2 1-2s in a row. Perez is finishing like he's winning. God damn, man. Like, this is looking like they could sweep the year. And, I want to get excited about F1 because you never know what can happen. But this just hurt. It just looks like, it sounds like the Merc days where if you took out Red Bull, we'd have a really interesting championship. That's what we have.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't make me kind of like think back to the days of when Merc was just running away with races. And while I was enjoying it, nobody else was. Now I feel your pain.
Yeah, except that I'm still hurting because Ferrari is still not the team dominating. But man, just to give you a little, insight on Ferrari's pace, they were 7/10 slower than they were last year at this race. So this is actually not even just stagnating; it's going back. So let's see. Everyone was saying, man, Bahrain was a different track. You're going to see in Saudi, Ferrari is going to be super fast. You know what? They weren't, and Red Bull has just delivered. And I'd like to say, well done, Red Bull. But fuck, like, we're not going to punish you for being the best, but man, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for the others.
Yeah, I don't have much. I don't know what else to say, other than like in Italian.
Yeah.
Ferrari, che cazzo fai? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Because this is just going back to the Merc thing real quick. Like, Mercedes is complaining about the bullshit that they're dealing with and that they kind of created themselves. But meanwhile, Ferrari's still behind them. So it's just like, okay. But I just moving forward too, like, we just talk about Jos Verstappen in the pen after the race for a second.
Yeah, please. Okay, so for those of you who didn't see it,
oh my god,
cameras are always on the winning team, and Jos is always around, and he was pissed. He was pissed. He didn't look happy, and his son was pissed as well. And it just looks like if they're not winning, then no one is allowed to be happy in that team. Like, I actually would kind of hate to be in the Perez kind of clan there, because you have to put on a good face when Max, little Prince, wins, but when you win, it's like, oh, fuck it, let's go to the next race. Like, I don't know, man. I know you have strong thoughts and opinions on them, but yeah, not a fan of that whole vibe at Red Bull right now.
No, I when I saw Jos standing there, like, not smiling, like, if I were Christian Horner, you know what I would do? I'd be like, yo, you're not standing there anymore if you're going to do that. And I don't know if he can. I don't even know if Christian can do that. But honest to God, between Max's post-race interview, where he basically said, he kind of pulled a Ricky Bobby quote when he was like, I'm paraphrasing here, but I didn't come here to finish second, so
yeah.
Ricky Bobby said, "If you're not first, you're last." I always got to drop it, when it's appropriate. Even when it's semi-appropriate, you got to say it.
That was totally appropriate there. I like
Yeah.
that. That's a good
But like
use.
Max saying that, Jos basically standing there with his arms crossed while the entire team is celebrating. He's stuck between like a bunch of other people from Red Bull, and he's just staring straight at Max. It's just the behavior is not great. And if I were Christian, I would nip that in the bud right now. Like I would kill that.
I think it's too late. That's way too late. We've passed.
Well, yeah,
that
I mean,
point. Yeah. This is
what, you
Max's
think-
team. Yeah, this is Max's team.
Sure, but
and Checo's only here because they allow him to be there. That's what it's come to.
well, you mean no? That's what the Verstappens think.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, fuck them, because they're turning into, and I don't know. No, I'm serious, man. It's just, because the other thing too is I want to just flip this on its head. Whenever like Lewis's teammates would win, and Lewis's dad was in the same position, he's celebrating with the team. Honestly, you rarely would see him unless Lewis didn't finish, but it wasn't the same 1,000-yard stare anger. Basically, saying like my son didn't finish first. They're the Reynas. I don't know if anybody has followed this story, but Gio Reyna,
Totally.
Claudio Reyna from the U.S. men's national team. This whole thing about being helicopter parents shouting from the sidelines, "My son deserves to play." The Verstappens are the Reynas of Formula One right now for me.
Yeah, it's like a dad at a soccer match, like giving a school soccer match who's yelling because his kid got subbed, and he thinks his kid
Put him back in the
right?
game.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But you know what? I mean, first of all, just go back to Lewis. The only time one of his teammates beat him was Rosberg, and we know how that ended. So I don't know if that's I think your comparison, Lewis and Max, just shows that when you've got such incredible drivers, they're gonna act like assholes because that's the team everything should revolve around them. That's how Schumacher was. That's how Senna was, and that's how all the greats are. Alonso, let me tell you, he's the same at he was the same at Renault. He's the same, in other teams. Sometimes it didn't work out. Most of the times it didn't work out, and now I think he's trying to create that again at Aston. So. Yeah. But I do agree, that's a separate thing, about, Max's, desire to win at all costs. But Jos, that's not cool. But, there was a video of him congratulating Checo, but he does the strict minimum. And, you got to lighten up. We know who's going to win the title this year. And who wasn't happy for Checo this weekend?
I was elated for Checo.
Maybe Danny Rick wasn't so happy for Checo because maybe he's secretly trying to get that spot. But yeah.
Well, I just have to say on the Checo point, I hope more things like this happen throughout the season. They probably won't, but it was just it was nice to see. He also held Max off. I think that was the bigger part towards the end. I thought Max was going to make a charge at the end, and he didn't. Checo. Oh my God, Chargio. Weird Sergio Checo combo right there.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah. No, but Checo held his own. He kept the gap to Max at somewhere between 4 and 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great weekend, but
he did hold him at bay. You're right. I think the team kind of tried to tell both drivers to bring it home because 1-2 just they have had some reliability issues and whatnot. So and Max said, no, fuck you guys. First of all, I'm going for it. So and then Checo's like, all right, well, I'm not gonna go slower either. And he actually did. He was competing on race pace, which that's a good sign. We want to see that.
That's a very good sign.
At least if Red Bull's going to dominate the fuck out of this year, at least have
a battle between each the drivers.
Maybe a little drama, maybe a little contact.
Oh man,
give me that. Maybe a little Alonso victory after they take each other out. That'd be great.
He just drives right past, giving the bird.
He would give them. He would.
Yeah. But one quick thing I want to mention is the person who, and maybe not, but I want to believe that in some ways Danny Rick is just having the last laugh or laughing right now at the drama on track, not only because of what happened this past weekend with Checo and Max, but also with the McLarens are just absolutely fucking nowhere.
Ooh, yep, you're right.
and-
McLaren is
I
struggling.
mean, yes, Piastri did finish above Lando, but regardless, the McLaren looks terrible.
It is terrible, and we're going to get into it in our next episode because we have it's not a race week next week, but we can kind of get
True.
into more miscellaneous stuff. But I want to give a quick props to Piastri, which for all of you who doubt in him, he showed. Okay, you Knowles, he's showing right now that he's hanging on with Norris, and I do think that Norris is feeling the heat this year, which I'm kind of liking. Norris is making mistakes, and he's not. I mean, not liking that he's making mistakes, but that he's feeling the pressure from within. Good showing, although it was for like P15.
Sure,
but
put
it
in
was
the
good
points,
racing.
and then I'll be impressed.
Speaking of points, K-Mag stealing P10 from Tsunoda on the last lap. That was a pretty good battle.
And then Yuki blowing everyone's eardrums out with his whatever the fuck that was in the radio.
Yeah, I felt bad for Yuki, man. He was defending really well. But it's that's the sport, and I gotta say, we almost got a Gromo, just almost. Hulk almost gave us a Gromo. Not that I was rooting for it, but it would have spiced up the race a little bit. But yeah, pretty decent showing from Haas. Like in the midfield, there wasn't much going on this race. Alpines were kind of just there. We kind of saw that they're good in the midfield, but they're not going to bring it to the top four. Let's be real, not yet, at least.
Yeah, I was just happy for K-Mag. I was I just wanted to see that happen, honestly.
Yeah.
But
K-Mag
didn't need to shout like that.
Yeah, the teams were. There was a lot of like team battles this race. Like when I kept looking up, and there was all like teammates were very close to each other for a lot of teams. I saw like Ferraris are close to each other, the Mercs, the Alpines were next to each other the whole race. The Red Bulls kind of in the end. The Williams, Sargent also had a really good race, I thought. He was not going to get credit for it, but kid's doing well.
Yeah, he's doing decent so far.
Yeah, and what do we got on the? Are we rounding up the race here? Should we go on to our championship, which is more exciting? I think.
So yeah, I mean, we've got we went into the weekend with me in the lead at 24-19 to your 19.
Yeah, don't get used to
that. Take it easy. And we're going into this weekend with no race. With me, F Knowles at 29 points, and you, P Money, at 19 points because you didn't score anything.
I got everything wrong. Yeah, you know what? When
Which is rare for you, actually.
Yeah, it is rare. And you know what? You got points for Alonso P3. So when I saw the podium, I was happy for Alonso because I love Alonso, 100th podium, great for F1, but also not happy for the stand championship. And when I saw that first penalty, I was like, okay, I'll take it. I'll allow it. But then when he got it back, I was like, you know what? He does deserve this podium. Alonso, 2 races, 2 podiums. Let's fucking go. World champion, baby. If Red Bull gets disqualified.
What is it? Part of El Plan?
El Plan, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, gotta get
I thought he came up with something else, though.
Oh, did he? No. He's always up. He's always up to something, man. Let's see.
Yeah. I'm also in the lead in our fantasy league. Just going to let you know.
But
not to brag.
Well done. Well, you know what? Who's not in the lead of anything is Ferrari, but they did manage to get the fastest pit stop for the second race in a row. So I'll just end the episode with that stat on my side.
Means nothing.
Yeah, I'll just take anything I can get at this point because Leclerc has 6 points after 2 races. Woo!
Jesus. Jeez. Well, before we wrap, follow us at the Grandstand F1 for great little pieces of content. We're going to be putting out some merch soon. Some new things coming. Mm-hmm. Again, follow us at the Grandstand F1. No race this weekend. I'm going to be a little sad. It's also the international break in soccer. No, or football, however you call it. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with my weekend, man.
Yeah.
So-
Well, watch Mbappe as he
Oh.
takes on the captain role for the first time.
Oh, right. But before, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know what to do. But we'll see you guys next week on another episode of The Grandstand.